What's going on, you guys? So we got a Chimera expansion pack today, as well as a notification that these things are on the boat now. So Wave 7 is actually that much closer to being reality. I have a feeling that there was a little bit of confusion with updating the status because the time it was at print was relatively short compared to other things. So this may also be a relatively short boat trip. I'm not sure how long it's going to be. There's still no hard, no street date for this yet, and there probably won't be until it gets on the trucks. But I'd say give it about 6 weeks, and then we'll start to speculate a little bit more. So maybe mid-March. That would be optimistic. Hopefully by the end of March we'll have these, but I'm being optimistic there. It might be slightly later than that, but still this is very good news. So let's talk about some of the new stuff that they showed us in the Chimera preview today, because so much of this has already been shown, and I have various other videos talking about all the other new cards that they've spoiled. But they did spoil a couple of new things, especially the Mandalorian fighter, which I'm going to talk about last. So we get Taskmaster Grint. You may recognize this guy from Star Wars Rebels, as is kind of the theme for a lot of this. The Chimera stuff is pretty much themed in Rebels. After deploying fleets, choose and place one command token on this card. When you reveal a command matching that token, you may gain a matching command token without spending the command dial. So he's kind of, like a guy that's very similar to stuff we've seen before with Wolf Yularen, but he's just giving you, that without spending the dial. So what this guy seems to work for specifically is with the Chimera title. So if you have that fleet command upgrade and you need to just, be spending tokens for other things, but you still want your dial, it's a great way for you to do that. And, and that works. I don't think he's the greatest officer out there, but I think he's versatile enough that he can fit multiple types of builds. But overall, probably the least impressive card that they spoiled today. Next up, 7th Fleet Star Destroyer. So we saw a title similar to this in the Mon Calamari MC75 expansion. Star Destroyer only, so this is not a unique title, but it's restricted to Star Destroyers, which includes Victory Star Destroyers, Gladiator Star Destroyers, Imperial Star Destroyers, and any other type of Star Destroyer they eventually make, which is kind of cool. So you can get a couple of these. While defending against an attack that targets your front hull zone, before you suffer damage, you may choose and exhaust a copy of this card on a friendly ship at distance 1 through 4. Oh, I've got a visitor. Lando wants to come talk about it too. So basically, you can exhaust another Star Destroyer card to reduce your damage by 1. And that's kind of cool. Now, you'll be able to do this, like if you get attacked, especially if you're leading with, your big ship and everybody's attacking you, you can tap multiple of these. All right, one from that one from this one. It's a great way to save some hull. So that much is pretty cool. Let's see. And by the way, the Orabesh down here does actually have S and D for Star and Destroyer. So that's right. That's exactly what it has. So Mandalorian Gauntlet Fighter. This one. Are you going to take him? Thanks. Sorry about that. The Mandalorian Gauntlet Fighter is actually kind of cool, but also worries me a little bit. So here's the thing about the Mandalorian Gauntlet Fighter. It's got Assault. And a lot of people speculated it was going to deal with raid stuff. That's fine. I was kind of hoping it would give you the option to remove a raid token as kind of a counter to some other mechanics, because then you wouldn't need a whole lot of them. But the fact is, it gives raid tokens, so you're only going to get 2, and one of them is unique. We didn't see the unique one yet, but we're only going to get 2. So the thing is, it's very likely to see a build that wants to use more than 2. Now, for most of you out there, if you want to do that, I'm going to strongly suggest you just borrow one extra from your friend or something like that, because you can fit up to 6 of these in a build. And I don't really think running 6 of these is going to be a great idea. It's a lot of hull, but 5 is a possibility. And I have issues with that because that's going to be very expensive. If that turns out to be a very, very effective thing that kind of dominates a meta for Armada, then that's going to be a problem because everybody's going to feel compelled to pick up 3 Chimera expansions. They can't use 3 Chimera expansions, but they're just buying them just for this. So maybe some of you will end up selling an extra Mandalorian Gauntlet Fighter, and maybe there'll be an after-party market where people can be like, all right, look, I don't need 2 of them, or for those of you who want to pick up 2 Chimera expansions, you might want to sell off, an extra Gauntlet Fighter here or there. Maybe that will end up happening. But because I definitely can foresee a fleet with running 5 of these and then maybe 2 of the of your intel, of your jump masters. So this way you can actually get these guys out there and put raid tokens. And for users who don't know, raid token lets you pick one of the 4 commands. It goes on that ship. That ship can no longer do that command. Dial or token, which is really big deal, because I want to talk about the raid commands a little bit. Before I do, let's talk about the rest of this ship. Despite assault, it's okay. It's not the greatest fighter, and maybe that's kind of how they balanced out the raid token, is the fact that it's very strong, but against other squadrons, it's only rolling 2 blue and a red. So the red could be a miss. The blues might be accuracies, or it doesn't have bomber, so it's not so it's not really going to do a whole lot of damage against ships. But it does have 2 dice against a ship, which is kind of a big deal. There's a really good chance it's going to be able to spend that, or just damage the ship. But you're going to want to spend those raid tokens primarily, at least at the beginning. Get rid of the engineering, so they and get rid of nav. Or the obvious one is for like quasars and really heavy carriers, or Yavarises that are really fleets that are all geared towards carrier support. If you can get one of these guys closer to to one of their carriers, and you're able to hit and knock out the squadron command, you've just crippled their entire build, and that's a big deal. But they're rogues, so you don't even have to give them squadron commands on your own. And that's the thing, is they're not even weak against themselves, because if you're running a squadron build, and if you're both running Mandalorians, neither one of them hurts each other really, because they don't care about the squadron command. But here's what raid just being in the game does. First off, it hurts Thrawn, which is the wave it comes with, which is interesting, because like, let's say you have a mirror match, we're running similar stuff. You're running your Thrawn build, I'm running my Thrawn build, we each have Gauntlet fighters. You get a raid token on you that knocks out squadrons. All those Thrawn squadron commands, if you happen to bank any of those, are gone. If you end up not doing it for squadron, let's say you do it for concentrate fire, boom, you've just like, I'm not going to know what you chose with your Thrawn, but now you can't do it for those ships. Even if it's a free command from Thrawn, still you cannot do the command. Unless, of course, they FAQ it to allow Thrawn's ability through, even with a raid token. But I don't think that would actually make Thrawn a little bit better. That would make him a little bit better if his commands were able to go through, even though you had a raid token, indicating that he had this backup plan. Even though your raiding party went on board and disabled the weapons, Thrawn had separate cannons installed or something. Thematically, you could come up with a way to justify that. But another thing that I think this does is I think that this kind of kills the occasional build of having 0 squadrons. I think this really hurts that risk versus reward, because now that risk has just gone up tremendously. If for those of you who are running 0 squadrons, first off, you're not going to be able to even slow these guys down, which is a bummer. But then on the other hand, you get stopped, you get hit with one of these things. Well, you only had 3 commands available to you now. So now they're doing, instead of taking out 25% of your command ability, they're taking out 33% of your command ability. So now, for example, if they hit your concentrate fire, which if you're running no squadrons, there's probably a pretty good chance you're going to run concentrate fire, at least on a couple of ships. Not always, but it's fairly common, because you're trying to kill other ships. You want to get, you want to kill their carriers. So maybe I'll do concentrate fire first. So that's, now all you can do is nav and engineer. Or maybe you were going to do nav. Nav is a good choice. Engineer is a good choice too. Engineer, so you can't get rid of any of those crits that come up. And speaking of engineer, suppose you're at speed 1 and I get a crit on you that reduces you to speed 0. Or that lets me lower your speed by 1. And then also I get, oh, by the way, I have assault on you for nav. Now you're dead in the water. Now that ship is basically killed. That's pretty nasty. And it's a good thing that these guys are Imperial only, because if you had like Luke Skywalker or Jan Dodonna or minefields, suppose minefields will now come back, because if I'm able to get assault on you and I get that crit from an early minefield, that's pretty nuts. So this whole speed 0 risk is gonna, is even worse now, because you can't come out of speed 0. But the other thing I think that this really does, I think this really reinforces the whole concept of relay, and how kind of overpowered I kind of thought relay has been in the squadron game. Relay takes out like all of the risk. I'm just gonna have my squadrons all up here, and I'll keep my ships all the way back at my starting point at speed 0 or whatever, and just keep doing squadron commands. And you can't I never really liked that, because it just seems like you're not really playing a fun game anymore. You're just figured out the best strategy, or it's not always the best strategy. It's certainly not, but you figured out a really powerful strategy, and you're taking away all of the risks. So it's like you're a glass cannon, but I can't shoot your glass. There's just no risk there. So I feel like doing something like this reinforces that even more, because now I'm all the more incentivized to keep my ships as far away from you as possible. So relay is a great way to do that. Especially if I'm at risk of having, an assault squadron come in and hit my, one of my one of my carriers. I feel like relay is going to be even more OP come Wave 7, and it may have to be in almost every single build. So that much is particularly disturbing for me. And I hope that's not the case, because one of the things I love about Armada right now is how wide open the meta is. Everything goes. Really, there's nothing that's really, really bad, with the possible exception of the Pelta, but Wave 7 is really going to fix the Pelta. And I think that's going to be great. I think that's something I may even do another video on all the ways I think the Pelta is getting better in Wave 7, and there's numerous ways. So that much is cool. But relay, I feel like, is going to be even more prevalent. And we had one of the things I had originally anticipated is that maybe this new squadron would do something to interrupt relay. Maybe we'll see that. Maybe it's in the works. Maybe it's coming for Wave 8 or something like that. But I would really like to see something that can really mess with relay, or just see relay worked to just simply extend the range of the ship rather than being anywhere on the board. That's kind of on my personal wish list, but I would like to hear what you guys think. What do you guys think about this preview? Are you guys as excited as I am? Are you thinking that this is actually going to be in our hands someday? It's been a really long wait since this first got spoiled at Gen Con. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to have these things in my hands and get them on the tabletop and start playing them. So that's all I've got for you today. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And make sure you're subscribed and click the bell for alerts. You don't want to miss any of those giveaways. And I do have more coming soon. So thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.